What's going on, guys? It's PokePond back with another video for you. We're coming in with our weekly videos looking at everything going on in the sealed market. This is going to be an absolute banger because the market is just going absolutely crazy right now. It seems like every week I check these prices, everything's just going to the moon. I'm going to give you a full statistical analysis on everything, and we're going to draw some very interesting conclusions on the end about what's going on with modern sealed product, particularly this guy up here, Mr. Team Up. Anyway, make sure you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. Now let's get into it. Okay, we're going to start off as we usually do each and every week by talking about one of my favourite sets, Destined Rivals. We were very fortunate in Destined Rivals to buy into it early. To me, it just seemed like a real obvious play to make. There were a lot of content creators at the time, particularly those that have been in the hobby a long time, that were warning people not to buy it for, you know, $180 a box, $200 a box, and that was stupid because it was going to go back down to MSRP. And all of those people are very quiet now. I've seen a lot of people over the last few weeks start to backtrack on their original comments now, which I do find quite funny. But to me, it was just an obvious play ever since we first heard about the Team Rocket or Glory of Team Rocket IP being reserved in Japan. Everyone was so hyped about this Team Rocket set coming out. Before we even knew what the cards were going to be, we knew it was going to be a heater set. The last time we felt that way about a set was Evolving Skies, and we know what happened to Evolving Skies. So we bought in early to it. We did recommend to you guys on the channel to do that as well, but obviously some of you did tread carefully, which I completely understand. And this channel is more just about giving you the information so that you can make your own decision to make the plays. For some of you, it wasn't right to buy in at that higher price point, and that's completely okay. But for those of you who did are now reaping the rewards, I really don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon either. This is some real historic price action happening with Destined Rivals, just so strong out of the gate and just continuing to rise, particularly the booster boxes as well. There are a few people as well in the hobby that were sort of saying to me like, oh, you know, you shouldn't really be talking about Destined Rivals breaking history and doing so well out of the gate. You know, there were some sets in XY era that did that kind of thing. I'm sorry, XY era was over 10 years ago. Okay, you need to get with the times, look at the new market. Okay, nothing in modern, like ultra modern, so like Sun and Moon base onwards, or even like Evolutions onwards, has performed like this out of the gates, and it just seemed like an obvious play. But let's have a look at the data and what's going on. It just continues to absolutely charge up the price charts with Destined Rivals. It is the hot set. It's quite clear that it is one of the best, if not the best, sets of the Scarlet and Violet era. If you're looking at booster boxes, I think it definitely is. I think there's an argument that if you bring in holiday sets and elite trainer boxes like your 151 prismatic, there's an argument that those may overtake in time. But as far as booster boxes, I don't think anything's competing with Destined Rivals. Last week on the average price charts on TCG Player, it was $428. This week it is $434 with sales up as high as $445. Just continuing week on week to just gain $10, $15, just continuing to rise, which is absolutely crazy for such a new set. Last sold in the US with a new listing tag for $420. It just continues every time I check to be at a higher and higher price point. I think that's for two reasons really. One, booster boxes just aren't sitting on shelves and not getting reprinted. As far as we can see in the market, even if they are, it's very small waves and very sporadic and spread out. Last sold in the UK is £384. I believe these are just going to continue to rise. Worst case scenario, you sit on it for 2 years, which we always recommend as an absolute minimum. Not that you have to sit on it for 2 years, but be prepared to sit on it for 2 years. Because if this was mass reprinted tomorrow, prices may drop a little bit. But if we zoom out and we look at where the set is going to be in 2 years' time, I think nearly everyone in the hobby will agree that it's going to be more than $420 in 2 years' time once it starts going out of that possible print window. So, if you're wondering why I'm looking at both US and UK prices, or you're new to the channel, I live in the UK, but I obviously pay close attention to the US markets as well. I'll always let you know what's going on in the sealed market in both US and UK markets for everything that I look at. So it doesn't matter where you are around the world, hopefully you will get something out of these videos. Make sure you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. You can see, if you're new here, I have hundreds of tabs open up. That is not an unusual thing. We are going through everything sealed, from Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield, everything that's moving. Anyway, I may skip over a couple of sets like your Shrouded Fable or stuff like that, or your Darkness Ablaze, because it's not really doing anything. I will keep an eye on those though, and if they start breaking out, be sure that I will let you know. The whole idea of the channel is you can pop me on once a week and I will just show you everything that's going on in the market, because it's a lot to keep up with with all of these tabs each and every week. So, Destined Rivals, yeah, 384 quid or $420. I expect that it will just break out to $500 real soon, because you're going to get people FOMO into it. The fact that some of these big influencers and PokeTubers are now starting to backtrack on their words and say, oh, maybe I was, you know, a little bit wrong. They will never admit full guilt that they were wrong. They're like, oh, maybe I was a little bit wrong. Or I heard a brilliant one this week by someone on a live stream that said, oh, okay, so I told you not to buy Destined Rivals. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It just means that the people that told you to buy it were right. But that doesn't mean I'm wrong. I just think it's hilarious how people are just not accountable for their words. I'm always accountable. Now, we have been very successful on this channel over the last 2 years. We're over 2 years now of making predictions every single week. Nearly all of them have come true, but you do need to realise that these are just predictions. They're not guaranteed to come true. We are just looking at the data. We're purely data driven, looking at trends, looking at what's happened in the market previously, and using that to scope our own sort of opinions on what's going to happen in the market. And the data doesn't lie. Generally, the trend is your friend. Right, let's then briefly talk about Mega Evolutions. Mega Evolutions, for those of you who don't know, is a bit of a sore subject for us in the UK because our release has been delayed. It is out now and in consumers' hands in the US, and we still have to wait another 2 weeks for it to come out. We have to wait till the 10th of October because Pokemon Company International somehow messed up their European printing or something, so they've delayed our release, which is absolutely crazy and quite frustrating. But on TCG Player, last sales are $300, which is kind of mad, and in-hand sales on eBay US instantly bought out for $300. These are the people that got it first into hand. That's a sale from yesterday. Now, it's a little bit too early to say what's going to happen with the prices, because I think that people are just scrambling to get any kind of product right now, particularly rip and shippers as well, because you've got to understand that when a hot new set comes out, they can't get enough of it in, and they will pay any price to get product in. So they're all competing with each other because they will make money opening it. It doesn't matter how much they pay, because they just put that cost on to the people buying the single packs. So that's something to bear in mind. It's a little bit too early to tell what's going to go on with the prices. I personally think that $300 is too much to pay at the moment, and it will reduce down in price. Obviously, I can't look at what's going on with UK prices because we don't have it in hand yet, and I'm not going to look at stupid pre-orders. Let's then move on to Prismatic Evolutions. I will keep you updated with what's going on with Mega Evolution. We will keep an eye on it every week going forward. Right, Prismatic Evolution is continuing to climb up in price. Prismatic Evolution, like I said before, is one of the top sets of Scarlet and Violet. If you're including in holiday sets, it's definitely in that top 3, maybe even top position in time. It may be fighting sort of 151 given a little bit of time, even though it was mass printed. Again, this is another set that so many people got wrong. You know, so many of these Pokemon influencers were telling you not to buy it for $100, $110. They're printing it into the ground, blah, blah, blah. It's just continuing to climb up in price now and go to where it should be. The only reason why the price was suppressed down to $100 was just because they were absolutely printing it like crazy. Now people are realizing that given a bit of time, and we can look at previous sets where this has happened as well, like Crown Zenith was printed into the ground as well. Given a bit of time, I think people realize where this set is going to go. And I think people realize that at some point over the next year, year and a half, that kind of time horizon, there'll just be no more. There'll be no more printed, no more on shelves. Pokemon Company can't just endlessly print it forever. They're going to move on. They're going to move on to their other sets. They should move on to Destined Rivals. There isn't enough Destined Rivals on the shelves, let alone Prismatic Evolutions. And this is one of the reasons why Destined Rivals is running away, because all of their focus was on reprinting Prismatic Evolutions, and Destined Rivals is just a runaway train. They got that so wrong for how much demand there is. So at some point, they're just going to have to give up on Prismatic Evolutions, and it's going to the moon, guys. I'm telling you. We already see it start to spike up in price over the last couple of weeks because it was so underpriced at that $100 range. We've been telling people for weeks, for months, to buy in at that $100 range, and now we're starting to see it start to increase in price and go to where I expect it should be. Last week on the average price, it was $122. Now it's $136. You'll be like, oh, right, that's not too much of a price increase, but $14 on what was it, 100, sorry, $14 on 122, that was it, on 122 is an 11.4% rise over the last 7 days, and I'm telling you, it's not going to slow down in this hobby. Because I've been doing seal collecting and investing for a long time. We've been doing it since way back in Evolutions, which is pretty much 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years next year, because that will be... Evolutions was the 25th anniversary. Sorry, the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, and then next year is the 30th anniversary. Crazy how fast that time has gone by. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, a year in collecting and investing just flies by. And in a year's time, there's not going to be much Prismatic Evolutions for sale, for retail, if any. And the more time that goes on, the less and less likely that is going to be to happen. I could potentially see a situation where right towards its end of its print window, they might release some other products, like some bundles or something easy to churn out. But again, I don't think it's going to affect the price that much. I think it's going to follow in the wake of 151, which is absolutely destroying things at the moment. And you just have to look at the value of the cards you can pull. The Sunbryon is still so super expensive, and it is one of the big chase cards of the era. I think that Prismatic Evolutions is just getting started, and even if you buy in at today's market rate at $136, $140, I still think it's a super good buy, and people are going to kick themselves for not buying more of it. Same with Destined Rivals. Even with Destined Rivals at $420 a box, if you zoom out at where it is in 2 years' time, I think that you're going to do well, like very well, even buying in at this massive price point. Let's then move on a little bit then. So $140 last sold eBay US, and there's an import there for $234 from the UK. Interesting. Very weird. UK last sold 154 quid. With postage on top of that as well. So nearly 160 quid. Here's another one for over 160 quid from yesterday, with a new listing tag as well. So bought out instantly. Someone FOMOing into that hard. But again, I don't think it's a bad buy for that price point. Hold on to that for a couple of years. I think you do very, very well. So, also as well, it's like an early payday here in the UK. So most people in this country get paid on like the 28th of the month. Today is the 27th, which is a Saturday, so most people got paid early because it falls on a weekend. So that's why you're seeing high sales from yesterday, because everyone got their paycheck here in the UK. So that's why you're seeing all-time high sales of like over 168 quid, over 160 quid for Prismatic Evolutions in the UK. For those of you that are interested in the US, I've done a little conversion into USD. We are currently paying 214 US dollars for a Prismatic ETB. Just thought you might find that interesting. Let's very briefly talk about White Flare and Black Bolt. I don't want to dilly-dally onto this for too long, but we have to pay attention to it every week and just keep an eye on what's going on. It is one of the cheapest sets in the Scarlet and Violet era to pick up right now. It wasn't that well received, not a huge amount of demand. We kind of predicted that was going to happen. The Black Bolt ETB is performing a little bit better just because of the card selection in there. And yeah, just a cheap way to pick up a kind of okay product. I think in time people will appreciate it and it will do fine over time. It's not a bad collection piece. And yeah, it's okay. We'll keep an eye on it. It is up a little bit this week, but barely anything. So last week it was at $77, the White Flare box, and this week it's up to $82. So a couple of percent price rise, but nothing to write home about. Black Bolt last week was at, let's see, a little bit more expensive, $85, and this week is $88, so up about $3. Nothing crazy there. But we will keep an eye on it, as we always do, and keep you informed. If it starts doing a big run, then you'll be the first to know about it. If you're tuning in every week, make sure you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. If you've got the product, you've got the power. Let's then talk about Journey Together. Journey Together is kind of just holding at this rate. It was a little bit too expensive at this 260 range, and it's just kind of hovering around between 250 and 260. Last sale was actually 247, which is about equal to last week, but we've seen some sales up to 254, another one from 2 days ago for like 260. That's kind of the highest we've seen for a little while. I think that's kind of an okay price for it, just because the sort of average price of sort of the mid to low tier sets in Scarlet and Violet at the moment is around about that 240 range. So to see Journey Together selling for 240, 247, I don't think that's a bad price for it. I think given time, it will perform a lot better and it will start pulling away from sort of like those mid to low sets, and it will be sort of mid to high tier set or low high tier set. I think it's going to struggle to be a top 5 set, but it's going to be around there. It's going to be hovering. So I don't think it's a bad pickup at the moment. You can fill your boots with Journey Together, to be honest. There's not much demand for people to sell in it at the moment. The enhanced version in the US is currently going for $230. And non-enhanced? Is there any non-enhanced to go in? No. I mean, what's interesting is in the US, the enhanced version seems to be pretty much everywhere. In the UK, it's kind of the opposite. The enhanced version is a lot rarer. So, yeah, actually a sale there for $300. I don't know who paid that. And that was from yesterday. Market price, yeah, is more like 240 for the, or 230 even, for the enhanced version. Here in the UK, it's 260 for the enhanced because it is quite rare over here, and the normal version going for about 190. It's slowly creeping up there in price. Like I said, that's a creeper set. That's a sit on it, have a bit of it in your collection, put it away for a couple of years, forget about it, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I do own a bit of Journey Together. Would I buy in at like 190? Maybe not, but I bought in for retail when it was readily available for retail a couple of months ago, and we were advising people to go in, so I'm happy to keep it and put it away for a little while. And I don't have a lot of it, I just have a few sets. Let's then talk about Surgeon Sparks. Surgeon Sparks is one of those interesting sets that was actually really well received out of the gate, and it was it performed a lot better than I personally expected and a lot of people expected. It is a bit of a fan favourite. People are cautious about it because it's a Pikachu set, and obviously the last big Pikachu set from Sword and Shield, which is Vivid Voltage, typically performed quite badly, but it is starting to move now, which I'm happy about. I own one box of Vivid Voltage and one ETB, and I will sell it in a little bit of time, but I'm really happy to see it finally start to move up there in price. But Surging Sparks perform much better than Vivid Voltage, and it's actually breaking out a little bit this week, which is really positive to see. Last week on the average prices it was $266, and this week we're seeing sales over $300, which is kind of crazy. That's from today as well. So you're seeing the price live sale, and there's another one going for $310 from yesterday. So let's do a price calculation on here for the percentage. So 266 to 310, that's a significant jump in price. That is, let's work it out, $44 on 266. Let's work that out. 44 divided by 266 times 100, 16.5% price rise on Surging Sparks this week. Very interesting to see that start to break out over $300. I do think it will be fighting for one of those top 5 positions in the era. It's not top 3, but it could hit top 5 when you start thinking about the best sets of the era and which ones will perform the best. Really positive to see Surging Sparks breaking out this week. And, you know, we have been saying over the past few weeks that Surging Sparks was undervalued. When it was sat at like 260, 250, and then Journey was also at 250, 260, we said Journey's too expensive, Surging's too cheap. And then we've seen that exactly play out. We've seen the market correct. We've seen Journey come back down a little bit to the 245, 250 range. And we've seen Surging start to surge up in price, no pun intended. And I didn't expect to see it break out that quickly, though. 304. Are we typically, or are we getting to a point now where it's just common to not see Surging for under $300? I think we could get to that point fairly soon. I don't think we're quite there yet because we're just seeing one sale on TCG Player. But hey, one piece of data, one sale is a step in the right direction. There's another one. Last sold on eBay US, $299.99, $300 on the nose for a sealed Surging Sparks. Really positive to see. I like Surging Sparks. We own not too much Surging Sparks. We own one booster box and like a half booster box, both as well picked up for retail. Actually, I don't think it was ever available for retail on the secondary market here in the UK. That was from Pokemon Center. We got a Pokemon Center drop for retail, which we were very fortunate about. But I'm going to be holding Surging for a good while. Surging's sitting in my collection for a good couple of years at least. I think it's going to perform really well. I've got no reason to sell it, to be honest. Last sold in the UK, there you go, 291 quid. Nearly 295 when you include postage. Kind of crazy to see that pump up so quickly. Right, Stellar Crown. People have been talking to me in the comments and they're mad that I keep not mentioning Stellar Crown. Like I said, you can see how many tabs I'm looking at. I always talk for like over an hour every week, even though I don't plan to. It always runs to over an hour. It's becoming a bit of a meme on the channel. So I can't cover every set. Stellar Crown, we will have a look at it this week, but we won't look at it every single week. I can't look at every single set, but it is breaking out in price, so we will look at it. Last week it was at $250. This week is last sale $274, so it's up $24. 24 on 250. 0.096 times. Basically, it's up 9%. I don't know what happened with my calculator there. It's up 9.6%. Stellar Crown this last week. Starting to creep up there in price. It is a bit of a creeper set. People kind of forget about it or don't really talk about it that much. So, yeah, interesting. I own quite a bit of Stellar Crown, mainly because you could pick it up for below retail for quite a while after it came out. It's one of those that, again, I can just put it in some storage boxes in the back, forget about it. It was an obvious play buying it for below retail. A lot of people don't like the set because of the whole Terra card style and then with the crowns and stuff like that. I think it's fairly decent. I think that they fumbled a bit by not putting the Terra Lapras in the set. and they instead made it a promo, I think that that is a beautiful card and it would have made a really good chase card. Instead they went with the Terrapagos, or the Terrapagos, however you say it. I quite like Terrapagos, personally. Yeah, not a huge fan favourite, but I quite like the set. It's going up there in price, and it could be a situation, quite often you get this in previous eras, where the sets that people don't put away end up increasing in value just because there's not that many around in the future, and it's all supply and demand. You will always have demand for each and every set, no matter how unpopular it is, because there's people that want to collect one of each, at the very least. I mean, there's also people that will like Stellar Crown and will want to crack it, open it, or have it as a display. But you've got to remember there are people that in the future will chase having one booster box of everything for their display or for their collection. We've seen that with bad sets in the past. You know, I keep bringing this up, but Rebel Clash is a perfect example of that. Terrible set out the gate, but actually performed really well in the long-term price-wise because it didn't have big reprints, there wasn't much of it around, and people just didn't put it away because it wasn't a great set. Stellar Crown, I think, will do fine long-term, and look at this price data. It's up 20% in the last 3 months. In the last 6 months, it's up 25%. But it's starting to increase up in price. It's starting to go more vertical. We'll keep an eye on Stellar Crown. We won't look at it every week because it's not the most popular set and not many people have it put away. But it's a sneaky little set. And on sneaky little sets like this, you may get people dumping them to move into other products. You may be able to pick one up. Keep an eye on eBay, because if market is, what, 274? You might have someone dump one for 240 and try and cash out quickly because they need the money. If you see stuff like that, like well below market, not a bad pickup in my opinion. Here you go, perfect example. Last sold in the US, $235. That's quite a bit below market there. That's nearly $40 below market. It was from yesterday. It's got the new listing tag, so you know that it just went on and someone bought it out straight away, because they knew it was a good price, they knew it was way below market. This is the thing with booster boxes as well. They are liquid. It is so easy to get your money back. Even if you don't have eBay and you just want to sell on Facebook or something like that, I would always recommend selling on eBay. I do most of my sales through eBay. I have done for many years. I love eBay. But even if it's like not a super desirable set, the fact that it's a sealed booster box, there will be buyers. And if you drop it a little bit below market price, it will get bought out straight away. Okay, it may sit for market price. If you want $270, $280 for it, be prepared to sit on it for a month on eBay, 2 months on eBay for the market to move ahead. But if you want to liquidate it and move it quickly, you can move booster boxes sometimes in the same day. Just drop it 10-15% below market, list it up. Don't do what this person's done and use stock images. Use proper photos. Take a photo of every side, show every side of the seal, well lit. It will sell if you drop it below market price. They are very liquid booster boxes. Last sold in the UK, 260 quid. Really creeping up there in price. So thank you for whoever pointed out that I should look at that this week. Let's then move on to one of the big boys of the era, clearly one of the top 3 sets when you include holiday sets, of the 151. The 151 Elite Trainer boxes actually chilling at $400. We did actually call this over the last couple of weeks that $400 is a very psychological price point, and it will probably bounce on and off $400, like hitting the ceiling of $400 for a couple of weeks until it breaks through. Once it breaks through and you start to see more regular sales, 7 to 10 sales consistently in a row, then you start to see a trend of a breakout. Then it's over 400 and it ain't going to go below 400 again. So this is your last chance, and you've probably got another week or two to buy into 151 below $400. Kind of flat this week, like I said, bouncing off that $400 resistance, and then that $400 resistance, once it's broken, will become a support and it won't drop below $400. Really, once you've seen about 7 to 10 sales, that's then a trend of a breakout and it will just be over $400, and it will have quite an easy run up to $500 then, and then it will probably bounce around $500 because that's an even more psychological price point. Oh, knocked a key there, sorry about that. Right then, last sold on eBay US. There you go, $390. I think this is your last chance to buy in below $400 for 151. 151 is an absolute animal of a set. I think it's going to perform so well long term, and I think it is a great place to lock up your money if you can afford that kind of thing. Me personally, I've only got one Elite Trainer box in my collection. Thank you to my friend who sold that to me. You know who you are, you're probably watching. But I hold quite a lot of bundles, because bundles were a cheaper way to buy into it, and it is still a cheaper way to buy into it. But even the bundles are going up in price again. Quite often I get a lot of comments saying, why are you not talking about bundles and display cases and stuff like that? We're talking about the main set product. Okay, just know that if I say that the 151 Elite Trainer box is a good buy, then the bundle's a good buy as well. I'm talking about the set as a whole, not always the specific product, okay? It's just the Elite Trainer box is the best product you can buy from an investment standpoint, because it is the most collectible item. Now, it's not the cheapest for pack cost. That would be the bundle. But I hope you guys understand what I mean there. 151 PC ETB, the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box, is at $950. That is absolutely ludicrous. If that was mine, I'd sell it. Personally, I'd quite happily take $1,000 and buy 2 Destined Rivals booster boxes and a Prismatic ETB. Personally, it's what I would spend that money on. I would take that $1,000 and rip that out of your hands. Last sold in the UK, 400 quid. That is an all-time high for the 151 Elite Trainer box. And look at this, the sale before it on the same day. These were both 2 days ago. Well, a day and a half ago, because it's Saturday morning right now. These were from Thursday. Look at the difference in price between 2 buy it nows. It just jumped from 343 quid to 400 quid. Absolutely nuts. Huge swing in price there between 2 sales, the 2 last sales. Let's then talk about Temporal Forces. Temporal Forces is kind of slowly increasing in price. It's around about, like I said, that mid-era range of 240 to 250 a box. Last week it was averaging 250 on TCG Player. Yeah, dead on 250. Last sale is 270, which is a little bit of a breakout. You know, that's a little 8% rise or something on last week, but that's only one sale, and the sale before is 245, which is actually $5 below. So if we average things out, it's probably up a few dollars this week, but we'll keep an eye on Temporal Forces. Paradox Rift. I don't know what's going on with Paradox Rift, okay? I always dog on Paradox Rift. I think it's not a great set. It gets people so fired up in the comments. Okay, that's just opinion. I personally don't like the set. I don't own any of it, but I can't deny the data. Paradox Rift has been bought out this week. 87 items bought this week on TCG Player. It is breaking out in price. I couldn't tell you why, because I think that it's absolutely crazy, and I'll tell you why in a second. Last week it was $256. Now we're seeing sales of $320. So that is what? $64 on 256. Yeah, okay. Paradox Rift for some reason is up 25% this week. Absolutely crazy in my opinion, but hey, we always give you the data whether I like the set or not. I give you the tools for you to make your own decisions on it. If you love Paradox Rift, then there you go. But yeah, Paradox Rift up 25% this week on TCG Player. Absolutely nuts. Yeah, $320, and I'll tell you why that's mad right now. Okay, so $320 for a sealed Paradox Rift booster box. What else can you get for that money? You could get a Surging Spark sealed and some change. You can get... Can you get a Destined Rivals? You can't. Destined Rivals has overtaken that. But Destined Rivals is at $420. So why is Paradox Rift at like $320? That's absolutely nuts. What else can you buy? You can buy a Mega Evolutions, although that's overpriced. You could get 2 Prismatic ETBs for that cost. Like, it's just a no-brainer to me. I don't know why people are going so mad over Paradox Rift, but I will move on. Let's find where we were. There we go. And last sale in the UK, £219. We will keep an eye on that for you every week because it is breaking out, and we're not biased. Okay, I will recommend to you what the best buys are, but it's your decisions. I'll give you the data and everything. Even if I don't like Paradox Rift, I will tell you what's going on with it. Let's then talk about Twilight Masquerade. Yeah, look, Twilight Masquerade is $3.25. I'd rather have a Twilight Masquerade than a Paradox Rift, personally. Just because there's the data. Look at what Twilight Masquerade has done in the last year. It's just consistent growth. I much prefer it as a set. But hey, you know, the Pokemon market is the Pokemon market. Everyone has their different opinions. Last week, $313 on Twilight Masquerade. This week, $3.25. So it's up about $12 over the last week. Just creeping up there. Nothing major. A few percentage gains. Last sold in the US, $300 with the new listing tag. So it got bought out straight away. Someone thought that was a really good deal and snapped that up straight away. I think Twilight Masquerade is going to perform really well long term. The data suggests it. We've got the data back in the set. It performed so well out of the gate, just continued to perform well as well, and has over a year of positive growth. I think it's a pretty safe place to put your money, even at 300 quid a box. Yeah, last sold UK, 300 quid. Let's then move on to Paldea Evolved. Paldea Evolved has just stormed the price charts over the last sort of 3 to 6 months, and it's just chilling at an all-time high basically. $467 last week. This week $465, so technically down $2, which is nothing. That's just the normal ebb and market flow. However, there were 2 sales on the 24th for $489, which is all-time highs. So this week, technically just chilling on its all-time high and poised to probably bounce off of $500. Again, like we said, $500 is a very psychological price point. I do wonder what's going to happen, Paldea Evolved versus Destined Rivals. Because certainly when Destined Rivals has been out the same amount of time as Paldea, and Destined Rivals starts getting closer to that sunset of print window, I think that it will be much higher than where Paldea is now. But I wonder how long it will be before Destined Rivals overtakes Paldea Evolved and becomes the most expensive booster box of the era. I think it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. I think we could be shocked and it could happen quite soon. I think that Destined Rivals is a bit of a perfect storm because the more the price goes up, the more people FOMO into it and the more people want it. The more the price goes up, the more demand there is from people wanting to rip it, people wanting to put it away as investments, people wanting to collect it. More importantly, the more the fans of the rip and shippers want that product. And I'm telling you, those rip and shippers will pay anything to get Destined Rivals because they'll just pass on the cost to the people buying it. Rip and ship really has changed the game this year, and this is why people, the old guard, as I like to call them, the older Pokemon influencers, the ones that look down their nose at us Pokemon investors, they are they're very stuck in their ways because they were around in the XY era when they saw these kind of patterns play out, similar sort of patterns, and then they've seen things, you know, drop down in demand. That was over 10 years ago. The market's changed a lot since then. Rip and ship wasn't a thing since then. I think people really do underestimate how much of this hobby and how much of the product bought goes on to rip and ship streams. You're having a lot of people in the US that are closing their TCG stores, their online stores. Big Pokemon YouTubers are closing their TCG stores, or they're not closing it, they're just pulling all the stock off of it because they can make more money through rip and ships. I personally think that rip and ship is a terrible thing. I think that it's bad for the hobby, and I think that it preys on people, and I think it's disgusting the amount of price and the amount of profit that people make off you. When market price for a pack is $10, $15, that's what they're buying it in at, and they're selling it to their streams for $30, $35, I think it's disgusting. And I think that people like that are making $500,000 a year off of their rip and ship streams, and they have the audacity to look down on us sealed collectors for putting away one booster box, 2 booster boxes of each set. I think it's disgusting. Anyway, rant over. Let's move on. Otherwise we'll be here all day. Paldea Evolved, right. This week it's at $465, chilling at an all-time high, not really moved that much. That was a bit of story time from PokePond. We always do it. Everyone loves a bit of story time. But there you go. That's your weekly dose of story time. Let's then talk about $292 last week for Paldean Fates. This week it is $295, so up a couple of dollars. Again, one of those creeper sets, just continuing to have positive growth, and it stacks up those gains. Those percentage gains every single week are compounding over and over again. Last 3 months it's up 62%. It's got 2 of the best cards in the era. I love Paldean Fates. I think over time it's going to be a monster set price-wise for the ETB. Let's then move on. Let's move on to Sword and Shield, move on to the big boy, the king of the jungle, Evolving Skies. We've got to start with Evolving Skies every single week we do, because it's just an absolute monster. On TCG Player, last sales, $2,600. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 sales in a row over $2,600 on TCG Player, going back over the weeks. Now, for those of you who don't know, I do mention this quite often, I am a data analyst by trade, or a data scientist, as you sometimes call it in the US. What a trend is, and this is how all businesses operate when they're looking at data, a trend, and especially a breakout trend, is 7 sales in a row of a certain price point. The fact that you have 14 sales in a row over $2,600 is telling you that market price is over $2,600. Well, duh. But that's what all the big boys look at. Now, if we have a look at last sales in the US, you're seeing one person dump an entire case separately in auctions, and we're getting a range of prices. We've got $2,300, $2,400, $2,425, $2,750, $2,400, $2,400. Now, partly the reason why the price is a little bit lower is because they're dumping 6 at a time. So a lot of people are going to be cautious about bidding on different ones at the same time, because they might end up buying multiple and they can't afford to buy multiple. So that's interesting. Yeah, $2,400. Some people got some good deals out of that, but those are your last sold, and that is a good indication on market price, especially on the secondary market. Let's look for the next sale there. Again, £2,425. So TCG Player a little bit higher on the sales, getting it a little bit cheaper on auction on eBay. Last sold in the UK, $21.75. Again, super positive to see it right up there at all-time highs. Yeah, multiple sales over the last few weeks, up at close to that £2,200 range. For those of you that are interested, I did the conversion here again from pounds to US. So last sold in the US, in the UK, we paid $2,914 when you convert it into US dollars. Something a little bit interesting for you guys. Let's then move on to Fusion Strike. Fusion Strike at all-time highs and continuing to just hold at that all-time high. Last week on TCG Player it was £1,016. This week $1,050. So not much price change, but right up there at all-time highs, gaining $30-40 over last week. Last sold in the US, $976, and that's on an auction as well, right up there at that $1,000 mark. We have seen a few sales over $1,000, but again, psychological price point, it's just going to bounce around $1,000 for a little while until it breaks out. You'll see multiple sales, 7+ sales over $1,000, and then I think you'll struggle to see them for cheaper than that. Last sold in the UK, 700 quid. However, the sale, that's from today, from this morning. However, sale here from yesterday for 825 quid. Look at the range between these two sales, two last sales in less than 24 hours. 125 quid difference. Let's calculate that out, what that swing is. 125 divided by 700. 17.8% swing in price between two buy it nows within the last 24 hours on eBay UK. Kind of crazy. Lost Origin then. Lost Origin, again, chilling at an all-time high. Now, this chart looks a little bit deceptive because it looks like it's reduced down in price a little bit last week. But let's have a look at the averages. So last week, $822. Last sale, $896. Multiple sales right up there at that $900. So it's actually up this week, quite a significant amount. So it's up $76. 76 on 822. 76 divided by 822. Lost Origin up 9.2%. We've been saying for the last few weeks that it's underpriced compared to Fusion Strike. I don't think it should ever be more than $100 below Fusion Strike at this stage. I mean, it kind of is, I guess. So, yeah. Fusion Strike going for what? 1050? And then Lost Origin going for 900. So catching it up a little bit. It's been undervalued for the last few weeks. Personally, I think they should be both comfortably over $1,000 at this mark, and we're going to see that soon reflected in the prices. Last sold in the US, look at this, $675. Bargain, whoever picked that up yesterday. I think you've done very well out of that. Zero feedback though, a little bit cautious about that one. eBay's usually got your back though. Oh, and look, interestingly, the guy who dumped the case of Evolving Skies in an auction also on the same day dumped, is it a full case of Lost Origin? They did. They also dumped 6 Lost Origin as well. Most of them going for, yeah, they all went for 660 basically. One went for 651. That is a bargain, whoever picked that up. Good for you. I hope that was one of you guys. Last sold in the UK, 617 quid. So we're paying a little bit more for it over here in the UK right now. Let's then move on to Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith is doing pretty good, just chilling at an all-time high. Had a really good year, just of consistent growth. It's up 300% over the last year, and you can see just consistently climbing up in price. Did have some real moves to the upside at the start of September, and now we're towards the end of September. It's just leveling off a little bit over this week, but I think it will continue to climb up and have a very good 2026 as well. Last week, average price 228. This week, 220, 225, 224. So down a few dollars, down a couple of percent, but I wouldn't worry about that. Given how much growth it's had over the last couple of months, I think it's just a little bit of price consolidation, and you can get it on sale this week for 220. And I think that's such a good buy to get a Crown Zenith for 220 at this mark. There's so many people that when it hit $100, they didn't want to buy into it because they're like, oh no, well, I remember seeing it on Walmart shelves for $50 and $60, so I'll never pay $100. Well, those people missed out because now it's over $200 comfortably. And I think it will be the same going forward. Those that aren't happy to pay $220 will miss out when it goes to $300 and $400. I think long term, like when we're talking years, I think it will quite comfortably get up to that $500 range. I don't know how much further beyond it will go that. I think it will struggle a while at $500. And when I'm telling you guys it will go to $500, I'm talking in years' time. Okay, now I might be pleasantly surprised, and by next year, end of next year, it'll be $500. That would be great. Realistically, the chances of that happening are quite slim. Long term though, 5 years, 10 years from now, I think it'll be $500 plus. It's a great set. I think it's a pretty safe place to put your money. And what else can you buy now for $220? Not a lot. Okay, so that's cheaper than the mid-tier booster boxes in Scarlet and Violet now. That's cheaper than Paradox Rift booster box. That's cheaper than Temporal Forces, Surging Sparks, Journey Together. For Crown Zenith, end of Sword and Shield era, fantastic holiday set, great set. A lot of people, like iconic as well, a lot of people opened this and enjoyed opening this as well. It displays awesome. The Elite Trainer box looks great. We've got quite a few Elite Trainer boxes of these in our collection. I wouldn't mind picking up more actually. The more and more I'm talking about it now and talking it up to you guys, the more I'm thinking about buying one. $220 for a Crown Zenith Elite Trainer box may seem expensive, but when you compare it to the other products in the market right now, the stuff that's still in print, the booster boxes in the Scarlet and Violet era, I think that looks pretty cheap. There you go. Let me know down below what you think. Astral Radiance has finally recovered. It's right back up at its all-time high again, which I'm so happy to see. I like Astral Radiance. I think it gets a bad rap. $412 was its all-time high. And look at this, last sale, $425. There you go. $13 over its all-time high. It's breaching new boundaries. It was underpriced. It was massively underpriced. And it didn't deserve to have this price correction down to $366. Really positive to see it up there at all-time highs. I think it will just continue to creep. It will be a creeper set, in my opinion. And not long before it's knocking on the door of $500. Again, it's going to struggle to break 500, but it will eventually. And then that'll be that. You won't get any more for below 500. Let's then talk about Brilliant Stars. I will talk about Brilliant Stars very briefly because it's kind of flat this week. Again though, just right up there at all-time highs. Nothing to worry about. To see such a high rise up in price and then it just sit at all-time highs is so positive, guys. Not everything has to shoot up. For it to just maintain its all-time high just shows how strong of a set it is. The fact that it doesn't retrace, when its consolidation period is just flat and it just chills at all-time high, it shows that it's probably going to keep going up, let's be honest. And we're seeing regular sales over $500 now, so there's not much holding it back from $600 and having a run up to $600, $750, that kind of range, given a little bit of time. And I think it will. I think it will benefit, this is Silver Tempest as well, once Silver Tempest breaks 500. I think they'll both benefit from the other sets increasing in price. Once Fusion and Lost start regularly pushing way over $1,000, I think that will help pull up Brilliant Stars and Silver Tempest particularly. Sorry, I lost my words there for a minute. So $543 last week. $540 this week. Couple of sales for $550 from the 22nd. All of these sales, recent sales, are from the 22nd, which is 5 days ago. So people just aren't buying on TCG Player. Interesting. Probably because they're cheaper on eBay. Let's then have a little look at Silver Tempest. Silver Tempest is at $474 last week, and now it's going for $550. Silver Tempest having a little bit of a run. Right, $550 minus $474, so it's up $76 this week. Really positive to see. So it's finally breaking that $500 price point consistently. Is that it? Are we gonna just not gonna get any more $500 Silver Tempests anymore? What was it? 474 divided by 474. There you go. Silver Tempest up 16% this week and catching up with its big brother, Brilliant Stars. Really positive to see. Last sold on eBay, $555. One going for $600. Really starting to pull ahead. And that's on an auction as well, that $555. Really positive to see that from Silver Tempest starting to flex its muscles. Last sold in the UK, $450. Great to see that. Chilling Rain. People moan at me as well that I don't look at Chilling Rain every week. I just want to quickly tell you this is why. It's just been flat for the last couple of weeks. It's just been chilling. Chilling Reign's been chilling at around about 560 to 570. Just sitting there. That's why I don't look at everything every week, okay? Don't be mad if I don't mention your set that you're holding every single week, okay? I'm trying to point out the big movers and shakers in the market, okay? I can't go through every single set, especially when it's just sat flat for a couple of weeks. There's no point in me talking about it, okay? Bear in mind that I will always let you know if something's breaking out. I am still keeping an eye on every set, okay? If it starts breaking out, I'll let you know. That's why you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. Now, let's finish off with my favourite part of the episode. Let's just talk about something else going on in the sealed collection space. And this is something that I started thinking about this week, which I haven't thought about in a little while. And I thought it was very interesting to bring forward to you guys today. We're going to talk about Team Up, which is a Sun and Moon booster box, a very well performing set. But we're not just going to look at the price of Team Up. We're going to have a little bit of a discussion here, because I've drawn some interesting bits of data here and some comparison that I think a lot of you will find interesting, and I don't think anyone's really looking at this at the moment. So, Team Up, let's have a look at last sales. Last sales, you're selling about one a month on TCG Player, and it's going from last sale $9,000, the sale before $13,000, the sale before that $10,000. So we're averaging out to around about $10,000, $11,000 a box on TCG Player. Let's have a look at eBay. Last sold on eBay US. New listing, so bought out straight away, so they dumped it a little bit below market and someone just snapped it up. 8,500. Here's another auction here, and that was from yesterday, by the way. 8,500, bought out instantly. There's an auction here from 2 days ago, 8,500. There's another auction from the same guy for again 2 days ago for 8,666. Now, if we take the average price of the last 3 sales on eBay, we're talking about what? 8,500. The average on TCG Player was about 10,000. Let's just be conservative, put it somewhere in the middle. Market price is somewhere around about 9,000 US dollars. I think we can all agree that if you put it on eBay and let it sit for a little while, I think you probably could get 9k for a sealed Team Up box right now. Right. Now, let's start looking at some comparisons. What can you get for 9,000 US dollars in the sealed market? Well, on the 15th of September, someone bought a sealed, not first edition, just normal unlimited, in an auction on the 15th of September. So what's that? A week ago? 2 weeks ago? For less than 5k, you can get a sealed Jungle booster box from 1999. That is nuts. That is nuts that Team Up is twice as expensive as a sealed Jungle box is now. That is absolutely nuts. Okay, let's look at something else vintage. Fossil. A Fossil box sold on eBay US, imported from the UK, for $10,700 6 days ago. So that is market. Basically $11,000, which is right at what it's selling on TCG Player for. So Team Up has already more than doubled the value of a Jungle booster box. If you'd have kept a sealed unlimited Jungle booster box sealed since 1999 for, what's that, 26 years, you would have done half as good as if you'd have bought a Team Up box 6 years ago. I wonder where things are going. How long is it going to be before a Team Up box is more expensive than an unlimited base set box? The original OG box. Modern is starting to eat vintage sealed. It's starting to overtake it. That's a very hot take. That's a take that no one's talking about on YouTube right now. At least I haven't seen anyone talking about it. We will keep an eye on it going forward. But for the same price as you could buy a Team Up box, it's nearly overtaken Fossil. You can nearly buy 2 jungle boxes sealed. That's nuts, in my opinion. Now, Team Up. When did it come out? Team Up was released 1st of February 2019. It is 6 years old. Okay? 6 years old. Fossil and Jungle are 26 years old. Just let that sink in for a moment. People weren't putting away boxes back then either. A lot of people put away Team Up boxes compared to then. So what does that tell you about what's going on with the sealed market? It is so positive to see a modern box. Team Up is a modern box. It's from the Sun and Moon era. It's 6 years old, just over 6 years old. And it's already nearly as expensive as a Fossil box, and it's more than twice as expensive as a Jungle box. And you can look at other boxes as well. It's more expensive than some other boxes, some other vintage boxes. Those are just the more iconic vintage boxes that it's overtaken. Okay? Now, look at that. Where do you think Evolving Skies is going to go? Is it going to follow in the footsteps of Team Up? Where's Team Up going to be when it's 10 years old, in another 4 years? Where's Evolving Skies going to be when it's 10 years old? Where's Destined Rivals going to be when it's 10 years old? I think you can draw a conclusion there that modern sealed is snapping on the heels of vintage. How long is it going to be before Evolving Skies is more expensive than a Jungle box? Now that sounds crazy saying that, but what did the Jungle box sell for? The Jungle box sold for under 5k. Evolving Skies is nearly 3k, and it's not that old. Something to bear in mind. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you got this far, hopefully you did enjoy it. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button, because that really does help me. Whether you want to support the channel or not, hopefully you got some entertainment out of this. Hopefully you learnt something. Smash that thumbs up button. It really does help me out. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? You just consumed over an hour of my content and you're not subscribed. I'm offended. Subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. As always, if you've got the product, you've got the power. Have a wonderful day and peace.